Hi, boys and girls. We're going to do a little mini series, and we're going to be talking about Esther, the book of Esther in the Old Testament. And so we need to start with a little bit of history. And so here in my chart here, I have the Persian Empire, and we're going to be talking about the capital of the Persian Empire here, which is Shushan. Now, if you looked at a map in today's map, this would be over where Iraq and Iran is, but it was the Persian Empire back in the Bible times. And the king of the Persian Empire, King Ahasuerus, and if you look in the history books, his Hebrew name is King Ahasuerus, but his history name is Xerxes. So you might see him referenced as either of those two. Well, being the king of this great Persian Empire, and in the city of Shushan, he decided to have a great party in his third year of his reign. And so he had this wonderful temple here, and people came in from all over. Caravans of people would come in, and this feast lasted for over 6 months. So the people in the town of Shushan, they worked very hard to make sure all these rich, wealthy people that were coming in to have this party with King Ahasuerus. And so for 6 months, they partied. Then they left. And King Ahasuerus decided he wanted to do a party for the people in the town of Shushan that did all that work for 6 months. So he had the party for the workers. Well, his wife, Queen Vashti, she decided to have a party also for the workers. So the women had their party, the men had their party, and for a week that party lasted. Well, at the end of that week, King Ahasuerus wanted his wife, Queen Vashti, to come and visit him in his party. And so he called Queen Vashti to come. Well, Queen Vashti knew he was probably drinking too much, was acting foolish, so she decided not to come. Well, can you tell what might happen, boys and girls? King Ahasuerus was not pleased with the queen because she did not obey his order. So King Ahasuerus to pass a new law that all the women had to obey their husbands. And King Ahasuerus decided he was going to send Queen Vashti away. She wasn't going to be queen anymore. So, in the next few days to come, his men noticed that King Ahasuerus was kind of sad. He didn't have his queen around anymore. So they decided to start looking for a new queen. And so they sent out many men all through the Persian Empire to start gathering all the beautiful young maidens that Queen Ahasuerus might be interested in. And so there was a young woman, Esther, that lived in the Persian Empire there as they were looking through all the women. And so she was invited as one of the women to come. And so King Ahasuerus could pick his new queen. And Esther was an orphan and her parents had died. So Haman was her cousin, and Haman took care of Esther. And so Esther went on to the palace. She was given some young ladies, some girls to help tend to her needs. And so then she was made up all pretty and fancy, and she was taken on to King Ahasuerus so he could look at all the women and pick his new queen. Well, Esther was a Jew, and Haman had told Esther not to tell the people in the palace that she was a Jew, because a lot of the people in that area in Babylon and Persian Empire did not like the Jews. So Haman said, Esther, don't tell anybody that you're a Jew. And so Esther obeyed Haman because Haman is the one that took care of her. And so while she was in the palace, she didn't tell anybody that she was a Jew. And then when King Ahasuerus had all the beautiful women come and parade in front of him so he could pick his new queen, as he saw Esther, and Esther had an inner beauty. She was beautiful to look at on the outside, but she also had an inner beauty. And King Ahasuerus decided that Esther would become the new queen. Now, boys and girls, we might think about becoming the new queen, and it might be exciting, but I'm sure Esther was very scared. She had to leave her home. She had to go live in the palace. Yes, she had some maidens to help and take care of her and stuff, but I'm sure she missed her friends that she had back in her home. And so it was a very scary time for Esther. Exciting, but very, very scary. And in the book of Esther, in my verse here, in the black one that we have at the top, the Esther 4:14 says, "For such a time as this." A question mark. That's the last part of that verse. Well, in the next couple Bible stories that we have, we're going to learn why God puts Esther in the palace. It's going to be for a specific time that in the life of Esther for the Jews. Something very important is going to happen why she's queen. And so Haman kept telling her, you just need to do what God wants you to do. And boys and girls, sometimes we don't know what's happening in our lives, why things are happening to us, or even when you're a child, a teenager, an adult, different things happen in our lives. And there's always a reason. God always takes care of us. And Proverbs 3:5, we need to trust in the Lord with all thine heart and lean not unto thy own understanding. We may not understand why something's happening in our lives, but God is in control. And boys and girls, as we are in church service and during the music time, I want to encourage you that sometimes music, the words of a song, are very important, and they can speak to us just as much as a Bible verse speaks to us. And Pastor Brandon was working on a new song for us. We've been singing it. And boys and girls, if you don't sing during worship time, I want to encourage you to sing and to learn those songs. Let's look at the words here, some of the words in Pastor Brandon's song. God's not done in this land. God's not done with his plan. We are not forsaken and not abandoned. We must not forget. And boys and girls, God is not done with us, and he's got a plan. So I want to encourage you, when Pastor Brandon's up there singing, leading worship, the songs are on the screen for you. And for those of you who can read, you need to sing along with the songs. And then when something happens in our lives, God will bring memory verses to us. He'll bring words of songs to us. Miss Wendy has songs. When I hear songs now, I remember when I went through a specific thing. When Pastor Mark has told us that his dad died. Well, there's a song God gave me to go through that. And when I hear that song, it just reminds me that God was with me and God took care of me. And other songs that when you're going through a trying time, it just helps to sing and lighten your spirit and just to remind us that God's in control. And just like with Esther, God was in control of her life. He was moving her to a new place, a scary place for her. I think I'd be very scared if I knew King Ahasuerus got rid of his first queen. I think I'd be kind of scared and maybe wouldn't want to be the next queen. But Esther knew that God had her there. And we're going to find out what that reasoning is in the next couple lessons. Thank you.
Hey boys Guys and girls, welcome back to AWANA. I am Josh the Game Guy. And for tonight's game, you have to have one of these, a paper airplane. Now, if you can't make these, you can ask your parents or your siblings to help you make one of these. And what you're gonna have to do is you're gonna have to set up landing strips. You can use a towel and flatten it all on the floor or a blanket. And you'll have to take one of your paper airplanes and try to get that paper airplane to land on that towel or blanket. And you can set up multiple landing strips so you can go one by one. You can race siblings or your parents and see who can complete a course the fastest, or you can do time trials and race yourself. That's all for tonight's game. Have fun.